Sup geeks, ohayo gozaimasu. Today we're gonna be talking about inverse functions. So, what is an inverse function? Inverse function is completely the inverse or the opposite of a normal function. So, as you can see, here the domain and range just interchange each other in the inverse function of that particular function. So, what does interchanging mean? So, let's, for example, let f of x be a function where the input is x and the output will be like x minus 1. So here the domain is x, and what are the values of the domain? So you can pretty much figure that out. Under the rule there will be no negative, so the domain should be, this whole domain x minus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0. That means the x values should be starting from 1 to up to positive infinity. Now, how to find out the inverse function? First of all, we need to declare that let f of x be equal to y. You can take any letters, but y is the standard rule. It's the unwritten law of mathematics. So it should be equal to y. Now, just put it here. Y is equals to. Now in the inverse function, the output should be x and the input should be y. First of all, we need to figure that out. So what is the value of x? We need to find that out. So you can do the square on both sides. Y square is equals to x minus 1. That equals x equals y square plus 1. So this is the inverse function, right? Now, this should be equal to f of the function f of x. So you have to write that f of x. We are taking the input x, so instead of y, we have to write x equal to x squared plus 1. Oh, sorry, inverse. You need to put this in the inverse function, so this is the inverse function. Now notice that you have to come to this point that x is equals to y square plus 1. But in the next line, therefore f inverse input is x. Input is x, so we have to put the x values here. So instead of y, you have to write x. Now the fractional inverse, which you will face mostly in the MCQs of the SSC board exams. So here's a function I declared that f of x is equals to 2x plus 3 divided by 5x plus 1. Now the inverse of it is f of inverse x input is x minus x plus 3, 5x minus 2. Now you may be wondering, how did I write this instantly? Well, there's a little bit tips, a little trick in it. So what is the trick? Suppose if we see any fraction, if we see any function as a fraction, like as a function, let the first value a of x plus b c of x plus d. If this is the general formula of a general type, general structure of fractional function. So if you see any fraction like x coefficient is a plus any integer, any number, then x coefficient is c and plus any integer, you exchange these to a and d to the additive inverse. Now what is the additive inverse? Suppose the value is a, the additive inverse will be minus a. Okay, so just put the opposite sign with it. And now there is minus 2, its additive inverse will be 2. Okay, so let g of x g of x is ax plus b divided by cx plus d. So what is the inverse? Inverse will be minus b by x, cx will be cx, and these two interchange, right? So it's a, so it will be minus a, and b will remain b. So this is a little trick that you will use when solving MCQs, as you know that we get only 25 minutes to solve the MCQs for the higher maths and 30 minutes for the general math. So it will be very easy and very faster to solve the MCQs, so that you don't need to hurry in the last second or at the 11th hour.